First of all, shout out to Netflix for actually uploading Peak to YouTube for free. Don't know what kind of epiphany they had, but at least I got to see this film without giving Netflix my money. Moving on, when Nimona was saved from being canned by Disney and was finally released, it felt like a celebration to people. But with the final product now open to the whole wide world, I was honestly very worried that this film wasn't going to be as good as people say it is. I've heard all the good reviews via Twitter, and for the most part, I believe them. But in the back of my head, I wasn't going to be surprised if it turned out to just be overhyped and overrated. I thought it was just going to be something like a 6 or 7 out of 10, kind of the same end result as the Mario movie. But alas, I was wrong. Nimona is a fantastic animated film. For the most part. Now, it's nothing revolutionary or anything. I found the story to be enjoyable yet one-layered, and the style and animation, though refreshing, really felt empty and bare looking here and there, especially that jailbreak scene. And people are not going to like this comparison, but these backgrounds reminds me of the Stuart Little 3 movie. So let's talk about the things I liked and disliked, and fair warning, there are spoilers that I will mention. Skip to this timestamp to avoid them. First, world building. And that's primarily on what Nimona is. How is she shapeshifting or surviving stabs? How is she over several centuries old? What is she exactly? They never really explain this, and I can only assume that they're withholding this information so it could be used for a sequel. Another thing I disliked was the film's desire to trick you. Upon my first viewing, I couldn't tell what was going on anymore or what direction the film was going to take when it was constantly going psych. There's a scene where Ballister's boyfriend is persuaded by the villain about a specific piece of information, and then he meets Ballister at a bar to discuss about it. Meanwhile, I couldn't tell if he was going to backstab the main character or help him, because up until this point, he had thought Ballister was guilty of the Queen's murder. It felt completely tedious by the time I finished this film, and it kind of took me out of it. I also felt like the argument between Nimona and Ballister shouldn't have happened, logically. How would she be tricking the kingdom and beframing the twist villain when she was already disguised as somebody else in the same room? Nimona doesn't have a twin. It would have made much more sense for the knight to question what the scroll meant and if that was actually her. If you wanted Nimona Godzilla rage to still happen, have it where she keeps denying the answer to his question about the scroll. He blurts something out, she gets hurt, and then they argue. Not him barging in saying, "You lied to me!" I also didn't like the last few seconds of the film and how anticlimactic it felt. They literally pulled a Monsters Inc. ending by having Nimona and Ballister reunite, but instead of explaining how she came back or giving them an emotional moment, it immaturely cuts off to the credits to have a swear joke. And finally, the last negative I have is the main villain. The villain is a mixed bag for me on terms of greatness and memorability. On one hand, she's a very effective antagonist and they really capture that sinister feel of an evil and manipulative dictator. Also with the bonus of revealing her role in the film at the beginning instead of the end, allowing us to enjoy her longer. But then on the other hand, you have her backstory. The reason she killed the queen and framed Ballister is because she had a dream that the wall would break. That's all you got? Her having a frickin' prophecy like Luke Skywalker? I miskilled the queen and half a city because of a nightmare I had as a kid. Wait, I know I mostly listed negatives, but I did that because I want this video to end on a happy note, because this film really is good. Number 1, the humor slaps. I found myself smiling nearly through the entire film because of the jokes. Some didn't work, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't rewind here and there. Nimona is obviously the best character in the movie, and I'm probably based for saying that. She's hilarious, adorable at times, and her friendship with Ballister is so wholesome, oh my god. Like I said a little bit ago, I'm also glad that the film revealed the twist villain at the beginning of the movie instead of the end. Too many films the last decade has fallen into this trap, and thus we don't get to enjoy them as villains. All in all, I enjoyed Nimona 2023. Although it didn't check off all the boxes on my list, it felt like a breath of fresh air, a great chemistry between two engaging duos, an imaginative mixture of medieval fantasy and futuristic sci-fi, an effective antagonist, and knee-slapping comedy. I'm giving Nimona 2023 a well-deserved 8 out of 10. Despite the rough history of this film's production, whoever created the webcomic should be very proud of themselves.